Nice to meet you, Andrew, and let me share my prototype of AI Web Application Tutor, acronym AIWAT. AIWAT is the first application in the world that allows to learn any foreign language and provides support in any native language. AIWAT allows any adult to become fluent in chosen foreign language in less than a year. It became possible due to a synergy of three inventions. One, AI-based personalized lessons created by learners. I want to stress that personalized lessons could be bad and could be good. In most cases, personalized lessons suggested to learners are created by AI for learners. And in my opinion, it is not a good solution because in this case, personalized lessons assume only one way of learning a language, that is conscious learning or memorization. Because a personalized lesson means detailed instructions created by the AI for learners, and they have to remember it. In my case, I use a different type of personalized lessons. They are created by learners using AI. Pay attention to this slight difference. The second invention, the patented subconscious training. All 30 methods known today for learning a foreign language, they all belong to one system, conscious learning or memorization. We do not have methods which will allow adults to use subconscious training. The third invention, a self-learning paradigm, started with the buzzword, don't teach me, let me learn. So only those three inventions brought together in one application will ensure that adults can become fluent in a foreign language in about a year of regular self-learning. AIWAT creates personalized lessons in any pair of native target languages by applying APA, enabling developers to add AI features to web applications. The patented subconscious training. Unfortunately, neither learners nor teachers have experienced it. So I start with a simple question, what is subconscious training and why does it work? Subconscious training, what is also interesting, subconscious training cannot be used by a teacher in the classroom. He can guide learners to do subconscious training, but he cannot use it in the classroom. Why? Because the patented subconscious training occurs only if a learner does three actions at the same time. He is reading the text created by him. He listens to the recording of this text and speaks simultaneously. When an adult performs three actions in this manner, his conscious mind is turned off because our conscious mind does not have capability to do many actions at the same time. It can do one or two actions, but cannot do three. So to ensure that adults do use subconscious training, it's easy. Just do three actions. And to do that, to achieve this objective, you must have an application. Only application will allow adult learners to have the text, recording, and speak at the same time, and record your speaking also, of course. So subconscious training, although it's very simple as I've determined it now, but it has so many new features because it uses a different system of our mind. You know that our mind has two systems. They were introduced by Nobel Prize winner Daniel Kahneman, slow and super fast. What we use now, the system, the slow system, is conscious learning. The super fast system is subconscious training. But it has a lot of new features inside of it, and you may go and read my ebook on this. I have two ebooks on subconscious training, and you will know much more. But it's interesting to ask questions, just a question. Why does subconscious training work? Because it gives the non-trivial answers to trivial questions. Does my fluency depend on how many words I know? What is your answer? Does it depend or no?
My answer, I would say I'm not sure.
you, you're on the right way. Your fluency does not depend on how many words you know. Does your fluency depend on your pronunciation?
Fluency depend on pronunciation? No,
No, that's correct.
shouldn't.
Does your fluency depend on how much you read?
I would say it would be helpful. I'm not saying that it's like straight. I mean, even from the AWAT lessons, there's still reading involved.
Reading is involved, and don't confuse. We are talking about a new approach, and that's why we have to be more specific. Reading does not develop fluency on a simple way because reading is not subconscious training, and the memory which we use when you read, memory has a wonderful feature. It forgets everything. In 1 hour, you
Hmm.
forget more than half of what you have read. So it wouldn't help. Does your fluency depend on how much you watch TV, etc., etc.? So the answers to all those questions is no. To all trivial questions, which most teachers say yes, we say no, because we must understand that to implement a new method, we must implement a new pedagogy of subconscious training. By the way, you know definitely that children learn all languages subconsciously. You know that native speakers speak subconsciously. It's actually a misconception. Why non-native speakers think that they can learn language consciously if children and native speakers do it subconsciously? It was a long history of misconceptions that we still believe it. Now we have to announce it as a misconception. So again, a few words about conscious versus subconscious. Uh, Here you see that it's a reminder on this slide. You see that we have two systems, conscious and subconscious. Conscious system is characterized by appalling forgetting curves, cross-translation problems, inability to think in the target language, and it uses teacher-driven instruction. Subconscious, self-learning, no forgetting curves and cross-translation problems. Automatic communication due to super-fast recall. Ability to think in the target language. And self-learning driven opportunity with self-motivation. So to speak subconsciously, you need to read the text, listen to the voice, and speak simultaneously. keep in mind, I want to stress here that you might have seen hundreds, if not thousands, of articles promising that ChatGPT is a new way to learn a foreign language. It's wrong. You cannot use ChatGPT for learning a foreign language. You can use it to create a plan, to create a lesson, to do everything in the old pedagogy of conscious learning, which doesn't work. So we need to create an application. And now I show you the prototype. So all features here will work. And at the end, now I will show you only the theory of this application, and then I will demonstrate you how the application works. So self-learning is an active process. When you listen to a teacher, it's passive process. That's why all lectures and even one-to-one, most learners believe that a teacher can teach English to them. It's not possible. By a simple explanation that when we talk to each other, we forget it not immediately, but very, very fast. And it's not active process. Learners develop fluency and the ability to think in the target language because their inner habit of cross-translating the incoming information into the native language and to comprehend, digest it through a native language is turned off automatically. When you do three actions at the same time, you cannot think in your native language. It's turned off automatically. That is the advantage of subconscious training. Self-direction and personalization ensure motivation and success. Personalized lessons. AIWAT, I remind you, AI Web Application Tutor, incorporates the ChatGPT API plugin for creating personalized lessons. The lessons created by learners or teachers, they are not created by ChatGPT and offered as an instruction. That doesn't work. We have discussed it already. So we use a different type of personalized lessons. Nobody uses this type of lessons at this moment. Query. Write a bedside story in Spanish based on the book 100 Years of Solitude for a beginner level learner. Then translate the story into English. And to the right, you see here that this lesson is created. You can create, you understand that you are not limited by the number of lessons. And you said in Spanish, but it can be done in English, it can be done in French, in any foreign language, as we discussed before, not in Chinese. It can be done for Chinese to learn English or any other foreign language, but not for learning Chinese. AIWAT opens a personalized lesson with the read aloud function and controlled speech rate. This button here, when you click it on it, this is a slide, so it is not interactive, but in the lesson I will show you. When you click on it, you can change the speed of the reading. It is extremely important because adults, especially beginners, even intermediate learners, should not work with native speech, because they need what is called special English. Special English was invented 70 years ago by the company Voice of America, and it has made the greatest impact on how the English was learned in the world, because only special English allows adults to work to understand, to hear, to copy, to digest, and to interact with English. So then you click on this button and it will start reading. But it's not enough because there's something else needed for success. What is needed is 6 drills for personalized lessons. Drill 1. Listen to the recording in the native language with your eyes closed. Can you explain me why you need to close your eyes? Why I recommend to close your eyes?
I believe I heard another one of these videos. It was visualization.
Exactly. It develops visualization because actually we use about 60% of our brain power just to visualize. And when we close our eyes, that freed energy is used for visualization. And what I also recommend, and I will demonstrate it in the lesson, that we listen to the recording in the native language with a slow speed. Because we need now to process every word and turn it into an image. So that is the first drill. Now, I have a question before we proceed for you. In which language do you think?
Which language do you think?
In
What?
which
I'm sorry.
language do you think?
Oh, which language I think? I think in English.
Are you sure?
Am I sure?
Oh, of course, of course,
Would
of
hope
course, you are
so,
sure.
but I
And
could be wrong.
99%, 100% of people say it, and I say that you are wrong. You do not think in the native language. We all think in the language of thought, which consists of symbols, images, feelings, and language of thought is the only language which you use when you are thinking, irrespective of how many languages you speak fluently. When you dream, you use language of thoughts. That is 100% language of thoughts. There are no words there. By the way, when you try to verbalize your dream or say something, most often you awake because language of thoughts is the main language in which we think. I made that assumption 30 years ago, but then the MIT professor Steven Pinker, in his book Language Instinct, has on 500 pages have described this theory in details. Steven Pinker says we do not think in any language. It's not possible because our thinking process is a continuous process and it needs a continuous tool. Thinking language in which we think, he gave it a name, mentalese, is the language in which we think. What happens in our real life that the language of thought is wired together with the words of the native language. When you try to verbalize or you try to think to verbalize your thought, the words in your native language appear on the tip of your tongue automatically, and that creates illusion that you think in your native language. You think in symbols. And then those symbols are verbalized in the native language, which means that if that is the truth, there's no objection now to the logic of this approach, then the learning of language is a different process. It should be wiring the symbols of language of thought known symbols, because everybody has his language of thoughts created by his or her own experience with the unknown words of a new language. It's a different definition of learning. It's a different process. And this process is implemented in this prototype. Drill 2. Listen to the recording in the target language and follow the text without pronouncing the words. Drill 3. Highlight the whole sentence with an unknown word and translate it into the native language. Although in the drill first, we listen to the recording in the native language. So we saw it, we visualize it, but still, when you start working on a new lesson in a new language, you may find that you forgot some words. And what we recommend is do not translate separate words, never, ever, but highlight the whole sentence. Why? Because every word has 10, 15, some words has 30 different meanings. And if you will look up them in the dictionary, it's nonsense. You cannot remember them. You look up and forget immediately. When you look up a sentence, then you create an image and you have one translation, so-called contextual translation. Those are the 3 drills. Now let's continue. Drill 4, the most important drill. Read the text, listen to the reading software, and speak simultaneously. That is the most important drill, but you understand that you prepare your mind, you prepare your subconscious before you can do it subconsciously and according to the new pedagogy of self-learning. You do not memorize anything. By doing many times reading, listening, and speaking, you open the door to long-term memory. You do not forget it because it's the same as to learn how to play piano, to play basketball, to drive a car. You do it automatically. You learn how to speak automatically. Drill 5. Click the record button and read aloud the text without listening to the reader. Then you can listen to this recording, and if you like it, you can share it with your teacher or friends. And thus you have a feedback. You listen to your success. And this success, which is ensured by using a different part of your mind, more successful, more fast part, will motivate you to do more. And it's not boring because you have chosen the lesson. Because you do 3 actions, there's nothing to memorize. There's nothing routine. You are just exercising. You are drilling. It's the same as do sports exercises. Language is a muscle which you have to exercise. Drill 6. Develop fluency and measure it quantitatively by flow speech fluency testing. Unfortunately, you never heard about this before, and this is the most difficult part because it's a completely new approach. I will show you later what that means, but now let me give just a few preliminary explanation. What is fluency, flow speech fluency testing? On the screen, you will see a word which appears randomly from the lesson, or if we test you as at the beginning of the course, or at the end of the course, it may be the word from a dictionary of 3,000 most widely used colloquial English words or Spanish words or the language which you learn. What you have to do is to create 2 or 3 sentences which will show the learner or will show to you that you understand this word. For example, breakfast. Can you create 3 sentences now, starting with the image of the word breakfast, please?
Okay. I like to eat eggs and bacon. Um, let's see. Eggs and bacon are yummy, and I also enjoy coffee along with it.
Uh, yeah, it is normal because you don't know the purpose of it and you were not explained and you did not drill it. Because what I will demonstrate to you now, uh, I will use a different word and I will demonstrate to you. Photo. On this photo, I see that it was created by AI. I don't like it because does not show the real people. It shows some kind of robotic people. I don't like this photo. I like real photos of real people. And however I will try to make it real, it may show the tiniest details, but it is still does not persuade me that it is real natural. Blah, blah, blah. It doesn't matter what I say. What is important is not to develop something special or to show me your preferences or anything. It's the ability to speak. Why it is called flow speech? Because that is what it is. The speech flows ignited by the word on the screen. And that is the new type of assessment, testing, which unfortunately is not used at this moment because all known tests are, in my point, wrong, because they measure not only fluency or ability to speak, they measure also cognitive capabilities, how you memorize, how you think, your critical thinking and comparison and remembering, etc., etc. It's wrong because for developing fluency, we must measure only fluency, and fluency is ability to speak automatically. You understand this? Here is an example of AIWAT for learning French. Query. Create a reading story with 500 words in French based on the famous novel Le Petit Prince for A1 beginner. Please provide exact translation of the story into English. And here you see this lesson, Le Petit Prince. And you use the same 6 drills to the personalized lesson in French, which were described on the previous drills. You understand that you may create unlimited personalized lessons for any level, beginner, intermediate, advanced, and in any pair of languages. native target. Is there anything like this on the market? No, nothing close because it uses three inventions at the same time, and it uses a completely different approach. Here I show again the slide about speech fluency. Remember, we've shown here. Here the words appear on the screen, and you say it. I click on this button, the next word will appear, and we record. This is record button. Then it's listen button. So the words may be taken from lesson or vocabulary, and the application, the commercial application, not this prototype, must measure speech in words per minute. Scores is an implicit characteristic of a learner's ability to speak automatically. And because you use it in every lesson, you see your progress automatically. And because you see your progress, you are motivated because you see how it grows. If you get feedback, the so-called corrective feedback, which is a very bad idea, and 60 companies now do give corrective feedback, thinking that the adult has ability to remember the correct answer and forget the wrong answer. The opposite is true. The more corrective feedback you give, the more he remembers the wrong answer. That is just the psychology. We don't know it because we are closed-minded mostly. We do what we have done for years, decades. So when we learn by so when we use AIWAT, we use fluency testing as implicit feedback, which motivates and helps learners to develop fluency and to measure it. Now, a few new definitions. So we touched upon it, but I will remind you again. Language learning occurs when known symbols of the language of thoughts are wired directly to new words of a target language. It is a different task. It's a different objective. We do not learn grammar. We do not learn words. We do not remember words as translations into the native language. And it is the only way adults learn now. There's no other way. So we have a new approach to learning language, and we do give a new definition. What is learning a foreign language? Fluency determines intelligibility and the ability to speak automatically. Very high fluency scores are required to pass English proficiency tests. By the way, to pass the standardized test, what is your opinion? What your fluency should be? Give me the answer. It doesn't matter you know or not, just intuitively.
I don't know. I don't know the speed that it needs to be off
The
the top of my
speed
head.
must be 150 words per minute automatically. What that means is that you, a learner, have to produce 2 or 3 words per second. It's impossible task. That's why there are so many attempts to fake exams and to use different people to pass exams because the exams are wrong. The objective is wrong. Adults to produce 2 or 3 words per second must think in that language. They must acquire it subconsciously. Fluency is independent of pronunciation, grammar knowledge, or vocabulary, and is best acquired through subconscious training. It's a new definition, and now I think you understand it. It's scientifically proven, and it is very logical. Corrective feedback should be avoided since it activates conscious learning. When you do give corrective feedback, and all companies, as I mentioned, I have counted 60 companies that are specializing in so-called AI personalized lessons and providing corrective feedback. And it's absolutely wrong. Because if you do corrective feedback, there's only way to react to corrective feedback is try to remember it. It's a futile attempt. You cannot remember corrective feedback. Implicit feedback by measuring the fluency score is highly motivating. It helps you not only to develop fluency, but to measure it and support your motivation and interest. AIWAT could be used for research. It's a very unusual objective, and it's very useful because the same application which is used for learning a language could be used for research. For example, you can ask AIWAT, how many words per minute should you produce to pass English proficiency tests? And here's the response. 200 for the IELTS and 150 words per minute for the TOEIC. These numbers are required for a good score on tests. And as we have mentioned before, is task impossible. It's a wrong task. And that's why AIWAT can help you. And sometimes if some idea comes to your mind or you want to check something, you should not go outside of this program to do even your own research. Another helpful research, a thought may come to you while you are doing this new method. What is the difference between formal and intuitive grammar? By the way, before I elaborate on this question, can you give the answer? What is the difference between formal and intuitive grammar?
Intuitive. I would say that it's kind of hard to articulate, to be honest, but I think I got the general idea. But you can use your own words.
Here's the difference. Formal grammar is grammar rules put in writing, which you try to remember in your native language because you don't know a foreign language yet. Is it possible? First, it's not possible. Secondly, it's useless. Because how can you use knowledge if you have to produce 2-3 words per second when talking? Can you think about or remember or recall grammar rule? Nonsense. What is intuitive grammar? It's strange that you didn't know the difference and could not say it immediately. Intuitive grammar is a grammar which acts as a feeling. You know what is right, what is wrong. And native speakers use only intuitive grammar. They cannot explain your rules. Only teachers who learned for years grammar may be able to explain you some rules which have no meaning at all because in their conversation they use intuitive grammar. They don't know, they cannot explain you when to use a or the article. They use it automatically correct. So intuitive grammar is the grammar acquired subconsciously, which acts as a feeling. Because we speak by chunks, by collocations. And when you do those three actions at the same time, reading, speaking, and listening, your brain, your subconscious mind acquires intuitive grammar. You will have a feeling when to use present or past indefinite. You will have a feeling to add s to the verb or not. You would not remember, you would not analyze it. It's not possible. You have to use it intuitively. So those are the new definitions and new approach of this method. In conclusion, AIWAT is the first application for acquiring any foreign language using AI, subconscious training, and guided self-learning. I offer comprehensive technical specifications and free technical support to any company interested in creating a commercial product based on the ideas presented here. Additionally, I'm offering free licensing to my 2 patents on subconscious training for English language skills. That ends my presentation, the theoretical part of it. And now let me show you the lesson for learning Spanish, and we'll see how the 6 drills work. Okay? So here is the lesson created by AI, and according to the first drill, drill 1, listen to the recording in the native language with your eyes closed and visualize the story given. Focusing on one task, listening, helps quiet the mind and allows for greater mental clarity and visualization abilities. Do it a few times. If you need to see the original text, open your eyes. So now we'll do it. I'll put here my cursor, and here I show you. Here is the reading speed. I have selected this one. It may sound to you as a bit too low, but keep in mind that you are learning a language and you have, first of all, to activate your visualization abilities. What I recommend is not only to close your eyes, but mentally, not aloud, but mentally, try to pronounce each word which you hear, because in this way you will actually paint the symbol of language of thoughts for each word. Okay? So we start here, close your eyes and do the first drill.
Santiago lived in a desert oasis. a shepherd with a restless heart. One night, under a star-filled sky that seemed to wink playfully, he had a strange dream. He dreamed of a golden pyramid in a distant land, and a voice whispered, "There, you will find your treasure." Santiago woke up with the warm sand on his cheeks and a fire in his soul. He left his flocks behind and embarked on an adventure, crossing the golden sands of the desert under the burning sun. He met friends and enemies, wise men and deceivers, and weathered sandstorms and silent nights under
Okay,
the
I
Milky
stop it
Way.
here. And so you understand the first drill, and you understand that you do it for a few times. First, to develop your visualization, and secondly, to visualize the story, which you have to learn in your target language. Drill 2. Listen to the recording in the target language and follow the text without pronouncing the words. So here is your lesson in Spanish, and you just listen to the recording in Spanish and follow the text without pronouncing the words. Ready?
Sueños de arena y estrellas. Dreams of sand and stars.
En un oasis del desierto vivía Santiago, un pastor con un corazón inquieto. Una noche, bajo un cielo lleno de estrellas que parecían guiños cómplices, soñó un sueño extraño. Soñó con una pirámide dorada en una tierra lejana, y una voz le susurró: "Ahí encontrarás tu tesoro". Santiago despertó con la arena tibia en sus mejillas y un fuego en su alma. Dejó atrás sus rebaños y se lanzó a la aventura, cruzando las arenas doradas del desierto bajo el sol ardiente. Encontró amigos y enemigos, sabios y engaños. Atravesó tormentas de arena y noches silenciosas bajo la Vía Láctea.
You hear that the pronunciation is pretty close to natural, and you understand that any text has this quality of pronunciation, which is controlled by you. You can change it to male, female, faster, slower. Everything is in your control. Drill 3. Highlight the whole sentence with an unknown word and translate it into the native language. So if you forgot, for example, what that means, you highlight it and translate it.
Ahí encontrarás tu tesoro. Encontró amigos y enemigos, sabios y engaños, atravesó tormentas de arena y noches silenciosas bajo la Vía Láctea.
AIWAT program, and she read in Spanish, but here the translation. Ahí encontrarás tu tesoro. There you will find your treasure. So you remember that tesoro is treasure if you forgot. Drill 4. Drill 4 is the central drill of AIWAT. It ensures subconscious training. Read the text, listen to the reading software, and speak simultaneously. However, you must practice all 6 drills to become fluent in a foreign language in less than a year. So what we should do now is to read, listen, and speak at the same time. Okay? En un oasis del desierto vivía Santiago.
En un oasis
pastor
del
con un
desierto
corazón
vivía
inquieto.
Santiago, un pastor con un
Una
corazón
noche, bajo
inquieto.
un cielo lleno de estrellas que
Una
parecían
noche,
guiños
bajo
cómplices,
un cielo lleno de
sonó
estrellas
un
que
sueño
parecían
extraño.
guiños cómplices,
Soñó
soñó
con
un
una
sueño
pirámide
extraño.
dorada en una tierra lejana
Soñó con
y una
una
voz le
pirámide
susurró,
dorada en una tierra
ahí
lejana
encontrarás tu
y
tesoro.
una voz le susurró, ahí encontrarás
Santiago
tu
despertó
tesoro.
con la arena tibia en sus mejillas y
Santiago
un fuego en
despertó
su
con
alma.
la arena tibia en sus mejillas y
Dejó
un
atrás
fuego en
sus
su
rebaños
alma.
y se lanzó a la aventura,
Dejó atrás
cruzando
sus
las
rebaños
arenas
y se
doradas
lanzó a
del
la
desierto
aventura,
bajo el sol ardiente.
cruzando las arenas doradas del desierto bajo
Encontró
el sol
amigos y
ardiente.
enemigos, sabios y engaños,
Encontró amigos y
atravesó
enemigos,
tormentas de
sabios
arena
y
y noches
engaños.
silenciosas
Atravesó
bajo la Vía
tormentas
Láctea.
de arena y noches silenciosas bajo
You
la Vía
should
Láctea.
understand that I don't know Spanish. I didn't show you my reading. I showed that when you use this approach, and probably I made a few mistakes, but if you do it many times, you will be able to do it without mistakes. And then you go after you have done it, the most important drill, you click the drill 5. Click the record button and read the text aloud without listening to the reader. Then you can listen to this recording or share it with your friends or teacher. What is important here to know, very important, that it is for self-learning. And however, I think that a teacher is a must. It is not essential. It doesn't mean that teachers would not be needed more than moreover. Teachers will be needed even more because they have to be guides, coaches. This approach is so much different that to change your ego, to change your experience, to change everything what you have learned, that is unlearn what you have learned, and to start from a ground zero, you need a help. You need a guide. You cannot do it on your own. It would be extremely impossible. However, if you are a guide, you may have not one student. It makes no sense. You may have 10 students. You may increase your income 10 times because you answer the questions of each student. Each student participates in this discussion and you help them. You do not teach them. It's not possible to teach a language. It's possible to acquire it through subconscious training by using support in your native language and support of your guide familiar with this approach. Can you imagine what results will be if we implement this application to say in Japan or in China? I know that you worked in China and you have experience with Chinese students, and you know how difficult it is for Chinese students to learn English. Theirs is a completely different story. It would change their approach because it changes the pedagogy used. The results would be extremely successful. Nowadays, Japan is number 87 on the list of 113 countries. It has very low English proficiency, and whatever they do, the proficiency for the last 10 years gradually decreases. Why? Because they use exclusively conscious learning and memorization, which is not possible to use for learning a foreign language. There is a different approach. It's easy, it's logical, it's associated with the latest technical developments, and I think if we combine our efforts, we may create a really new revolution in language industry. That's the last drill, develop fluency and measure it quantitatively by speech fluency testing. I have a special application which does it, and I can show it additionally or separately. But I think in general, that's all what I wanted to share with you. And now I am ready to answer any questions which you might have.
Yes, I do have some questions if you don't mind. We'll start from back the last part. So you said for Japan, the last 10 years, it's going down. So as you said, it was because of conscious learning. Could there not be other causal factors? Because as far as I know, they've been doing the same general thing for the last 300 years. I mean, there's some differences, sure, why not? But why the last 10 years?
No, wait a second. I don't see the big difference between your answer and my answer. You just pay attention, you focus on different aspects of the same answer. For 300 years they were doing wrong, and for 300 years nobody spoke English in Japan. Why we say for 10 years? Because this measurement by EF company started only in, I think, 2013. That's why we have data on the latest 10 years. And latest 10 years, it deteriorates because now technology develops further and further. And now we actually remember we have less attention span. Our memory actually deteriorates now because we must understand that we say learning, we must always specify. The word learning to me makes no sense if you do not specify learning what. If you learn to become a doctor, use conscious learning. If you learn a foreign language, use subconscious training. Learning uses two different systems of the mind. And each time when you use the word learning, you must specify which system of the mind you learn. So the answer to your question, why the last 10 years? Because it is the same process, but first it was measured lately, and it deteriorates because our focus, due to technology development, iPhones and all other little effects, it doesn't matter. What matters, there is no other explanation. I have thousands of posts on this topic on LinkedIn. You can find them and see it. One in Japan, there are 28,000 English teachers who teach English without being able to speak English fluently. They teach rules, they teach words. It's not an application. With AIWAT, what is very interesting, with AIWAT, a teacher should not be fluent. It doesn't matter. What matters, he has to understand the approach and logic, because the application is used for self-learning. Teacher is guiding and helping, and he will acquire the fluency along with the students. Do you understand the question? The answer?
Yes. So the main,
No, memory
say the
is
main
not
attributing
the way
factor
to
is
learn
attention
language.
span.
No,
my
don't make
understanding.
this. You want to put everything into different boxes. You want to understand, is it spam or memory? The answer is conscious memorization for learning a language is not possible. Forget it. If you don't use subconscious training, you cannot learn a foreign language, period.
Understood. Okay. Let me see. Other questions. So can you explain the role of the teacher? You mentioned guide and coach. Can you explain this further? I got the general idea, but I would like to see how you see it as on top of your system.
I have about 75 articles and hundreds of posts, and very often English teachers ask a question, but isn't it dangerous that your program will eliminate the need of English teachers because you can you learn a language by self-learning? And the answer is no. It would not eliminate. It will require even more English teachers, but they have to change their main objective. Now, teachers think that they can transfer English knowledge to you. They should understand it is not possible. When a teacher understands this approach, and by the way, I can teach any English teacher in a few sessions to become a specialist in it, because I have ebooks, I have articles, I have. Teacher is needed to help learners to embark on a new approach to learning language. And he will help him with all those drills to understand why memorization doesn't work, why he shouldn't translate separate words. Each time he has to answer on any question which student asks in a different way, actually in the opposing way. As I have shown you on one of my first slides, on most questions which are asked today, we give the opposite answer.
So let me re-articulate. So basically, as a coach, to follow the steps that
and help
you've
him in that,
articulated,
because for
and
him it would
also
be
to
very
answer
difficult.
any questions that the learner
He
has.
may not understand why he should do 3 actions at the same time. He may not understand because some of the learners don't know the difference between brain and mind. Some learners will have difficulty understanding that mind has 2 systems, conscious and subconscious. There are many questions which learners might have difficulty, so the teacher have to answer all those questions. He does not transfer knowledge. It's not possible. And that was his main objective. That was he was taught for years. And it would be very difficult for him because for 30 years he thought that he may teach English. What he is doing is wrong.
So I'm on board. I'm on board with it. However, at the same time, I acknowledge the customers that I've experienced expect things a certain way, and so they may expect explicit feedback, even though I agree that implicit feedback would be better.
It's interesting. There's a very good specialist on LinkedIn. His name is Satel. He specializes in this, and he gives a lot of lectures and posts answering the question why it is very difficult to change. So you demonstrate here is exactly what he is saying. Because students expect this, or because students were doing it, or because students blah, 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 means nothing. You have to understand one thing. First of all, if you would not change this thought that students expect corrective feedback, nothing will happen. You start with changing your own understanding. And when you change your own understanding, your own experience, don't worry about the learners. You have to change first yourself. Because there's interaction, what I explained to you in words, but there's also interaction between my mind and your mind now, which is not expressed in words. It is feelings. And you must understand that to unlearn, it's not easy. Ego has a certain objective to make your life stable. That's why you don't want to change. That's why even if you think that you are open-minded and you are listening to it and you try to understand it, you always will cling automatically and subconsciously to your old beliefs because you were using them for so long. But if you know the foundation of this approach, and if you know and learn more about the mind, start with changing your own belief system. If you understand the corrective feedback, why are you worried that they are used to corrective feedback? They used it. If you can show them, it's nonsense to use corrective feedback. It's very simple answer. Listen again. Corrective feedback requires memorization. But we have proven to you that memorization doesn't work. Make a conclusion. Corrective feedback wouldn't work because you do not have tools to remember correct answers and forget wrong answers. Period.